Greetings, Warriors. Back with another episode of Bigger Warriors 2, the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purpose. And hope you're just getting stronger and stronger every day. And I think that's the key to being more efficient, more effective, and being more prosperous as time goes on in many aspects of your life, no matter what's happening around us. A lot of chaos going on in the world, but you need to continue to stay strong. We need more strong, especially males out there. And I think certainly this is something that you can do to kind of help the cause and be that strong person, not only for your own welfare, success, peace, and closeness to the God, but also to help other people as well. So thank you guys, as usual, for all the comments and suggestions and likes and donations. Keep them coming. We can always kind of improve, and I think over the holidays I'm going to try to think of some ways to improve things that we're doing. We're still reviewing books. We're still reviewing masculine auras. Maybe there's other things we can do. I'm still working on the technology to see if I can try to get a computer with a webcam and things like that, and kind of go to a bigger screen and things like that. So we're going to get better as time goes on. Thanks for your patience and all that, and we'll continue to work better as we can. All right, so we are going to talk about something that is really important, because I think that a lot of times we talk about that why people get in a certain mindset, and I think I'll kind of call this one something like you are what you think you are. And part of it, guys, is to kind of focus on why do we have people who are successful and why are they not successful? Why do people keep failing when it comes to retention, or they keep failing when it comes to finances, and they can't pick themselves up and keep moving forward and having success and those type of things? Well, a lot of it goes back to conditioning, social conditioning. Part of my research back in the old days focused on reinforcement, a lot of what they call B.F. Skinner's research on reinforcement, punishment, things like that. And I think as children, one of the things we have to remember is that we were very influenced by a lot of things that happened to us when we're younger. And those are things that you have to kind of overcome if they're negative as you're going through life. I think you develop mindsets based on things around you. And it takes some time to kind of overcome that, if you first recognize that. And I think that's kind of the key to look at this. So let's just take finances, for example, as an example of this. So people who end up inheriting money from people, wealthy families over the years, one of the things that you don't notice on this is that as people grow up, as their children, they see wealth and they see how people get that. And so subconsciously, they're learning that. You learn a lot from your parents, good or bad. You're learning a lot from them because you're observing. And those are the things that you do as time goes on. And you have to be careful of the things that you've learned, whether they're good or bad. You have to kind of look at this. And I think that's one of the things, as you're taking analysis of yourself, as you're on this journey, analyze some of those things you had. If you grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, then part of it is that you're going to struggle with that. You're going to go ahead and struggle with that, whether or not you have money at one point or not. You're going to probably end up spending more money, and you'll get back to the same spot that you feel like you're comfortable with. And so because you grew up in a certain way, you become comfortable with that. And so you start thinking, well, this is the way life should be. And until something comes along and changes that, or you reconstruct yourself mentally, you're going to always struggle with this. The same thing goes with overeating or weight, all these kind of things you have. Now, the one thing that can actually help you with this is retention, of course, because retention is something that will allow you to get closer to God, to realize that just because your parents were a certain way doesn't mean that though you observe that you have to stay that way as an adult. And this is a habit that has to be broken, especially the negative stuff. The good stuff is great. But for instance, to go from poverty to wealth is difficult, not only because the opportunity is not there at the moment, but the idea is that you did not learn those type of ideas when you were growing up. No one really sits down and talks to you about how to become wealthy, right? You observe that from people around you. And if people around you are not wealthy, barely making ends meet, then you're going to feel this is the way life is. And it's very hard to change that unless you reconstruct yourself through a lot of things we've talked about before, right? Affirmations, trying to set goals, try to do things. Because what ends up happening, guys, is that if you don't do that, then you fall into trying to just get basic pleasures. And it goes back into the soul that you have. Because you start losing that edge you have, that confidence you have. And so if you feel like that, well, life is not worth it, you're, hopeless, things like that, it's going to be so much easier then to go ahead and relapse or to get involved in drugs or any other self kind of destructive behaviors. And those are the things that you have to be careful of as you're going along. And the idea we're talking about here then is basically first of all, knowing how you were brought up, knowing some of the things that you learned, and then also saying, okay, at this point, I don't want to be like that any longer. And it could hit you when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. That's why a lot of men decide to make a lot of money once they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, because they realize that they've learned a lot of bad habits when they're younger. And so the old philosophy is, from Aristotle, Socrates, is that you are what you think you are. And that's very, very true. So you have to change who you think you are. And I think that's the biggest key when we're talking about this whole idea of retention, of on your journey. You are changing who you think you are. And those thoughts and ideas come stronger to you. You're not as worried, not as anxious, not falling back on old types of things just to relieve stress. And you're certainly not trying to kind of indulge yourself into these self-destructive pleasures for a short period of time to get away from that. And this is what happens, guys. When people get depressed, when people get upset, they're looking to get things to fill in times. And they fill in times because they need something. It's too painful. And so they find drugs, they find sex, they find all these type of things, and they think it's going to go away. Well, it does for a short period of time. But in the long run, it's always there. You cannot leave it. Even if you leave home, the problems are still with you because the problems are in you. And the problem comes from a lot of social modeling behavior, learning behavior when you're younger. And the whole key to some of this, my friends, is to be able to get a real reading on yourself. And you start with that by your retention. By basically saying, okay, I'm going to be the best person I can become. And I'm going to go back to my natural self. And your natural self is not a person releasing all the time. A natural self is a person who basically is saying, yes, I'm going to be myself again. Get to full strength. And full strength is someone not going to have releasing every 5 minutes or every 3-4 times a day or chasing women around, things like that. That is not your natural self. Now, some people may argue, well, it is your natural self because you're being that type of person. Well, I would argue that's not. You're not being a natural person by chasing women around all the time. You're the one that should be out there getting things done, getting goals done, achieving things, and making the world a better place, not wasting a lot of time with no end result except a short-term pleasure. Now, of course, if you're having children, that's a great, worthwhile event. There's no doubt about that one. You're having it with a person, that's a different story we're talking about. But just to go out and waste your energy and do those type of things when males especially should be out there doing a heck of a lot more and being males and being strong masculine frames, then you're really talking about something where you're losing that edge. You're losing that idea that you are something special, unique, because you're just wasting a lot of energy. You're wasting your time and energy. Okay? And so as we talk about this whole idea, it's important to realize how you think about things, how your thoughts are, makes a huge difference on the way that you're communicating, working, and looking at other people. And I think that's a struggle that we all go through, because a lot of times we're sitting there listening to what people say, other people say, and we think this is the right way to do it. And I think what you got to do is realize you're your own person. You think the way you think, and you have to understand how you think about things. And as you do that, then you're able to go ahead and say, okay, do I like the way I'm thinking about this? Do I want more success? What do I want? I have a huge need and striving for success. I'm going to keep going no matter what happens, and no matter who's in front of me. We're going to continue trying to achieve the goals no matter what the situation is. Yes, I've had success. Other times I've had failures. But the idea is that you keep going, because you know the end result is what you're looking for. The end result is, whether it's financial or it's a goal you have, something else that you've got to play with to be able to kind of get where you want to go. And that comes with a lot of awareness of who you are and not allowing distractions getting away. And the bottom line really comes back down to the fact that you are being yourself, and you're keeping your seed, you're keeping your retention, and you understand that this is powerful. There's a powerful energy within you. Okay? And this is something that's really strong. All right, so once again, the idea we're talking about here is going ahead and saying, look it, I know that I'm being influenced by things around me. I know I was influenced with things when it comes to my childhood. I know I was influenced by things I see around me in school and things like that, as I've graduated from maybe high school, college, things like that. But I can change those things. And you do those things through affirmations, positive thinking, visualization. Those things are with you all the time. And those are key things to focus on. And so remember, as Socrates and Aristotle, Plato, everybody says the same thing. Your thoughts make you. And if you change your thoughts and you learn how to self-control those thoughts, which you can do to some degree, then you're going to be a different person. And all of a sudden, now you'll be a lot more effective person, and that's something that we all want to be. All right, guys, until next time, battle on.